Hey everyone, Miss Danny here, and it's time for lesson 3. This one is really fun. This is where you're doing a newspaper or magazine article on the book slash movie of your choice from this semester. I highly recommend that you use this as an opportunity to compare the book and the movie as part of your criticism, but you can absolutely choose to do it on just the book or just the movie. My first words of advice to you are not just from a writing perspective, but also from kind of a tools perspective for life. There is a great website called Plugged In. And if you have not been there, I recommend it highly. They do reviews for books, movies, TV shows, music, video games, all of it with a Christian perspective. And it gives you an idea of what you might need to watch out for, if it's age appropriate, and if you're at one of those ages where some movies in that rating are okay, but some aren't, it'll tell you why it received a PG or a PG-13 rating so that you can make an educated decision on whether or not it is a book or a movie or a song or whatever that would be appropriate for you. So, Plugged In is a great resource in general. I think it's one that everybody should consult before getting too deep involved in something that might have questionable material. It is also a great resource for this lesson because it's an entire website of essentially magazine articles dedicated to books and movies. So they're going to give you a great idea of what we're looking for. Now, their articles are a lot longer than yours probably will be, and that's fine. But you'll learn a lot by looking at how they format it. They often start with a brief overview and their initial reactions, and then they start breaking it into different parts. Now, for them and their purposes, they break it down into different areas that might present a problem for a viewer or a reader. And so it might have a section on language or violence or things like that. They break it down into those types of things. You might choose to break yours down into maybe humor. Was it funny? Was it heartfelt? Did it bring out some emotions in you? Were the characters relatable? Those are the types of things you probably will want to do your review on, but you can feel free to do a review similar to the way they do theirs. This could serve as a great guide for maybe a younger sibling or a cousin who is thinking about reading a book or a movie from our class, and you think that maybe they need to wait a little longer, or go ahead, you might be younger than me, but this movie or this book is wonderfully acceptable even for a younger child. So that is totally up to you how you want to do that. But I do recommend go on there and read a few of those and see how they do it. They use a method very similar to how you write an essay, in that they have kind of their intro and they have a conclusion, but the body instead is formed of mostly opinions. Now, this is an opinion piece, but just like every other opinion piece, you can't just say, it was terrible, and then leave it at that. And you can't just use a bunch more descriptors for why you didn't like it. You need to support your opinion. So if you say, this movie was boring, okay, that's fine. That's a great opinion. That's a great starting point. But why was it boring? Was it because it mostly took place in nature and there wasn't a lot of talking, and you prefer movies with more dialogue? Was it because there was a lot of dialogue and nobody ever did anything, and so it was lacking in the adventure that you like in a book or a movie? Perhaps it was boring because the reading level was very high for you. Put that. It's okay. Everybody progresses at their own rate. So if you feel like this book was just a little complicated, that's fine. Put it in the review. I did not enjoy this book because I had to spend a lot of time asking questions, looking up definitions, things like that, and it took away from the story. Or maybe it was boring because it was too easy for you. But put that in there. Say, this book was too quick and easy of a read for me, and so I didn't have to use my imagination as much as I would like. Maybe you don't like the style of writing, okay? Maybe you like it. Just like with our negative opinions, our positive opinions need to be backed up. So if you say, the writer was brilliant, great, that's awesome. Why do you think the writer was brilliant? Was it because he dug deep into the emotions of one of the characters and it really made you feel for that character? You felt like you were there? Maybe the descriptions were so detailed that it painted a beautiful picture. Maybe there were plot twists. You had no idea that that was going to happen, and you love that the writer surprised you. All of those are great opinions, and those are ways you can back it up. Use examples from the book. This is strongest when you do exact quotes as much as possible. Now, sometimes that's not entirely possible given what it is you're trying to portray, but oftentimes you can use a direct quote. So you might say, this book was exciting because in this part, Nim on Nim's Island, she is able to rescue the author. I don't want to give everything away. Anyway, she's able to rescue someone. And so this is a very exciting moment. And maybe you type in a little bit about what happens in the book, a few sentences or so. This is a great way to back it up. Look at this example from the book and how well it's written. This was an exciting point. Now, if you do that, you need to put it in quotation marks, and you need to put at the end of that what page you found that on. Okay, now we are going to talk a little bit about a works cited later, not quite yet, but this is a good practice. You know, as we're getting started on works cited and that type of thing, this is a great practice because odds are in your review, you're only reviewing the one book. So in the beginning, when you say, I am talking about Nim's Island, all of your quotes are going to be from that book. And so when you put a page number, they're going to know that is exactly the book they're quoting from. And everything is very straightforward. What you want is for it to be very easy for your reader to know where you got your information and how they can find it for themselves. Now, works cited can get a little bit more complicated when you're starting to write more in-depth papers where you are perhaps quoting from more than one book or more than one source at a time. We will talk about that later, but for this type of paper, at least get into the habit, the practice of marking down the page numbers where you are getting your information. This is such a great starting point. Now, does it have to be a direct quote to get a page number? Absolutely not. Also get in the habit at the end of a paragraph, if you're talking about the scene from Nim's Island with a volcano in it, it covers a lot of the book. It covers perhaps a whole chapter. And so you're not going to write out a specific quote in quotes, but you're going to talk about the things that happen. At the end of that paragraph, in parentheses, write the page numbers where those events came from. Does that make sense? I hope so. If you have questions about that, please feel free to let me know. But it does not have to be a direct quote. If it's a direct quote, you're going to have a page number, and we're going to know exactly where to find it. If I were to pick that book up, I could say, okay, I need to turn to page 84, and I will see exactly what happened, and it will match up what I read in your paper. But perhaps you are talking about a whole section, and so instead you're going to write pages 17 through 32. And again, I should be able to open up the book and skim through, and I will know, oh, this is what she's talking about. I can see the illustrations, I can read some excerpts, and I can see that it matches up with what you wrote in your paper. So this is beginning works cited, and it's a great skill. It's an important skill by the time you get to your upper level high school classes and college classes. This is the difference between passing and failing on a paper, is how well you can do your works cited. So start practicing now. Write those page numbers. Tell where you found it. Okay? Okay, so you're writing it like an article. You are creating that opening paragraph where you talk about what caught your attention and some emotions. And then you're going to use a few paragraphs to back it up. You're going to say why you felt the way you felt. You can divide it into different criteria, however you decide. So if you want to break it up into, like we mentioned, perhaps is it age appropriate? And here are some different areas that we can look at. Or it's entertainment factor. Here are some different ways we can look at the entertainment factor of what it is that we are reading or watching. Either one. You can also do it as a compare contrast between the book and the movie, as I mentioned earlier. So you are writing a review whether or not you think the movie stayed true to the book. Totally up to you. Just remember to have multiple paragraphs in there. Then have a concluding paragraph where you tie it all together and you say, okay, this is how it ends. I believe that this was a great book. I recommend it for all ages, whatever it is that you would like to say as your conclusion. Another great thing about magazine articles or newspaper articles is that they often include illustrations, pictures, quotes, things like that. And a lot of the times they'll even have a little box off to the side where it talks about maybe the author, illustrator, year of publication, publishing company, or if you're doing the movie, it's going to have the ratings, it's going to have different names of directors and actors and things like that. So this is a great opportunity for you to practice formatting, entering in little text boxes on your page for those blocks of information that are quick and easy reference. And it shows this movie was made in this year. It has these actors. It was directed by this. It's based on this book. And I can see that off on the side before I read the article. And I know exactly what I'm going to be reading about in the article. Okay, so don't forget, back up your opinions. Create some easy to access information and make sure you put page numbers. Or I guess I should mention if you're reviewing a movie, you're going to write the timestamp. So if this quote happens at exactly 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 32 seconds, you're going to put that in there. So that's how you reference a movie. So make sure you're putting your references in so that I can go and I can find that exact spot and know exactly what it is you're talking about. Okay, so go ahead and format it and have fun. If you would like, you can format it like an old-fashioned newspaper. That could be fun too, but the principles really don't change. So check out Plugged In, have some fun writing reviews, and hopefully you are enjoying all these books and movies. All right, bye.